Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Kevin McGovern from Perfect Motion Sports Therapy, and today is Thursday. So, what does Thursday mean? Oh, yeah, it's time for the Prove It Live podcast. This is episode 24, and today we are continuing our discussion last week about coaching, the coaching syllabus and player development, and we'll be handling more on the upper echelon of players. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Berry. Michael.
Hello, everybody. Mike Fury here from the Farm Baseball Performance Institute.
Oh, yeah, golf clap. Let's give him a golf clap round.
I'll give my own. I don't want to hurt myself, patting my back. Here with Kevin McGovern of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy and the ever growingly famous Ryan Gagne Fructis. Producer at?
Very large.
At large.
At huge.
Producer at double extra large.
Hey, so I'm excited. We have a good show today. We're good. I love, this is my favorite stuff to talk about. Obviously, I love talking about, the mechanical side of the game. It's all the teachable stuff, the stuff that we can learn about and learn how, it's we talk about this a skill sport and means that you can learn how to be good at it. So I'm excited. I'm also very excited today. So we're going to get into sort of the macro versus micro. And it's sort of as we go along the scale of like this,
economics,
syllabus, that curriculum, not economics.
Oh,
stay away from that.
All right, good.
From a younger kid and the gross motor skills to the finer tuned skills.
Gotcha.
So I'm excited to talk about that. But first, before we do any of that, what's at the top of the order? Gagne Fructis.
So, I don't know. He's raising his hand for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm scratching my last.
Okay.
What happened last night? I missed all the Yankee games. What?
So last week we let off talking about the Major League Baseball was up to 4 no-hitters, right?
Whoa.
Well, we have had some changes to that.
Yeah.
We are now up to 6 no-hitters. Two nights ago, Spencer Turnbull from the Detroit Tigers threw a no-hitter. I think it was like 117 or 118 pitches. And then just last night, Kevin's very own Yankee, Corey Kluber, who signed there in the offseason, threw 101 pitches for his first career no-hitter.
Now, how many is that? That's 6?
So that makes 6. And the MLB record, if we're going back to 1900, because anything before that is, kind of crazy. But going back to 1900, there have been 4 seasons in which there have been 7 no-hitters throughout the course of a major league season. We are, I don't know, a fifth of the way through the season.
Well,
right?
yeah, but hold on a second. I don't think you have to go back that far. 1990, 91, I think in 2012 was the
2012, and then 2015.
That's the whole year, though.
Right.
We're
in May 20th. This is crazy.
Yep.
This is great. What would Nolan Ryan be doing right now?
There is some controversy, not like horse racing, right? But we do have a 7th no-hitter.
We do not. We do have a 7th no-hitter, and that was Madison Bumgarner, who threw a 7-inning no-hitter. Now, here's the thing. Major League Baseball has decided that a 7-inning no-hitter does not count, but a 7-inning game counts.
Right, because the game was how many innings? How many innings that day?
That day, the game was 7 innings.
And how many hits did he have?
He gave up this many.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So
I mean, put an asterisk next to it if you want. That's fine. But I mean, come on. He doesn't have an opportunity to throw more.
If your run counts from your ghost runner at second base in the extra innings, then a 7-inning no-hitter should count, right?
Right. Exactly. If you're gonna tweak the rules of the game of baseball to go to this college or travel baseball format where a doubleheader is only 7 innings instead of 9 innings, then you need to tweak the record books as well, because Madison Bumgarner threw a no-hitter for a complete game.
Right.
No hit.
Do you know when it's gonna change?
February 23rd.
When a player has a contract stipulation that says if you throw a no-hitter, you have $1 million bonus, and he throws a no-hitter for 7 innings and doesn't get paid.
Yep.
Or that player just says, "God, I'm not throwing 7-inning games." Pitch someone else in your double headers.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. That could be too, right?
So, all right. So this is like crazy. Now, first of all, we should point out that the no hitter. So there's 6 no hitters, but it's been with 3 teams against 3 teams, I should say, right?
Yeah.
And those teams are, Ryan. You have it.
It's the Mariners,
Right.
They suck.
the Rangers,
Yep.
Even worse.
and the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah. The Cleveland.
Yeah,
Whatever
you
they are.
can't.
The Cleveland-
Right?
the
Yeah,
Cleveland
you
baseball
can't.
team.
I mean, come on,
Sorry.
dude. We're like a
I'm
family
sorry.
show. What
My
are you
bad,
doing?
guys. I'm
I
so
mean,
sorry.
What are they
can't
playing?
believe
The Red? What are they
so
playing? The
and so.
Redskins in an expedition game? Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the other interesting thing from this is that 3 of those 6 no hitters, Musgrove, Rodon, and Kluber, they were each 1 batter away from a perfect game.
Wow.
So this would beg the question: all right, well, is the dead ball baseball? Is it working? Is
Right.
offense really down this year?
Right.
You know?
So we kind of took a look at that, right? And so we learned, right? And Ryan's going to tell you a little more specifics on the stats, but we learned that yes, but also no, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's minimal. It's
Yeah.
minimal. I mean, we see similar drops in other years, right? And so Ryan runs, I think you said the lowest it's been since 2015, not that long ago, right? 6 years ago, 4.25 runs on average. This year, 4.35, down from 4.65 last year. Strikeouts, right? They're up a tick, right? 8.98, I think, versus 8.68 strikeouts per game last year.
Yep.
Home runs, similar. They're down 1.14 versus 1.28, and that's home runs per game. Hits the same thing. And so
Is that even statistically? I mean, is that like a standard deviation? I mean, is that even?
well, here's the thing. We really couldn't find anything to match this point last year.
And
Versus
average. I'll just jump in there too. Average is down 9 points from 245 batting average, team batting average per game last year, down to 236 this year.
Yeah, again, not huge, not to warrant 6 no hitters, in my opinion. Also, we're not done with the year yet, right? So again, it's sort of an old cliche in baseball, but I think it's true when you see most numbers that hitters heat up when the warm weather comes around. So in the summertime, hitters start hitting, better. So we have to sort of wait and see. But right now, it doesn't look like that big difference. So what gives? So what is it with the no hitters? Because I'll be honest with you, I was surprised. I thought we'd see strikeouts. Now Ryan did have a stat. Ryan, what was it? So strikeouts have been going up every year since when?
So I went back. I mean, I can go back pretty far here, but going back to 1993 is where I went to. Okay, 1993 was the last year that Major League Baseball, the teams averaged less than 6 strikeouts per game. Okay. And every year, basically, it's gone up. You run from 94 all the way to 2009. So that's like a 15-year run where they averaged between 6 and just under 7 strikeouts per game. Going from 2010 to just 2015, they were in the 7 range, 7 to almost 8. 2016 to now, you're looking at 8+, and really this year you're at 8.98. So there's a good chance that
almost at 9.
Yeah, that ends up over 9 by the end of the year. So
that's
people
what
aren't hitting the contact anymore. I was actually watching the MLB Network last night after the Kluber no hitter. And Carlos Pena and Sean Casey, two former big league hitters, were talking about this, that they're theorizing that a lot of it is pitchers are living more up in the zone, and the swing that's being taught nowadays, is not so much the uppercut swing, but kind of swinging at the plane of the baseball, and a lot of these guys are getting beat up high. That's why some of the strikeout numbers are up. The average is down, things like that. So I'll let Mike kind of chip in there. And
we've talked to Mike. So this is that we've talked about the HLP, that high level pattern.
Yeah,
hitting.
But no big leaguers are swinging like that. 0.
Oh no! They'll tell you.
I know they'll tell you
that every big leaguer swings that way. They just don't know it.
That's right. Well, it's not even close. You know who does know it? Videos.
Yes. Right.
Video of any big leaguer. Pick your favorite big leaguer. Pick your least favorite. It doesn't matter. None of them swing like that. I think the difference here is that this wasn't called. even 10 years ago, right below the letters, which is the top of the strike zone,
was a
according to
ball.
the rule book, right, that was a ball. I mean, anything above the belt was considered a ball, and that's not. So now players have to try to go after that pitch, and that's a hard pitch because look, it's not impossible. It's really hard to stay on plane with that pitch, right? Again, we have the -8, -10 degree fastball. The people that throw the pitchers throw the heavier balls, okay, the ones that, and a quick refresher. So there's two velocities on a pitch. There's the peak velocity, that's the velocity right out of the hand, and then there's the plate velocity, what it finishes at. And so it's not uncommon for a fastball, it's called a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, to lose 7 miles an hour on its way to the plate, right? So it's 95, out of the hand, and then it's 87 by the time it gets to the catcher's mitt. There are people who throw heavier balls. Keith Folk used to be one of them. We actually had a player years ago, this big, huge 16-year-old from up like in the Winchester area. And I've never seen it before or since. He was 84 out of the hand, 83 at the plate. Never saw it. Okay. And this was multiple, so it wasn't just like a misread. But that said, it's the high spin rate, right? The higher spin rate's going to cut through the wind. It's going to resist gravity longer. And so, Kevin, you probably remember back in like the 80s and 90s, they used to talk about the rising fastball, right?
Right.
And I can tell you, I remember watching Roger Clemens, my little nod to him, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it used to look like it would rise. And it didn't. It just didn't drop on the same plane, so it looks like it was rising. So all this to say, that pitch that's up there, even when you take into account that -8 degrees, is hard. It's hard to stay on plane up here going through. Typically as you rotate, when you rotate your body, your hands are going to slot down, right? So immediately your hands are going to kind of come under the baseball. So that's my personal opinion of why you're seeing this, is that as they start to come on top of the strike zone.
And it used to be taboo to throw the ball up. Keep it down.
That's right.
Now to me, just watching the Yankees daily, none of those guys can get on top of a fastball. Judge, Stanton, no one.
Yep.
But that's up in the zone. They pop it up, or they miss it.
That's right. The ones down, they crush. And that's the thing. Hitters adjusted, right? So I remember, back in early 2000s, 2003, 2004, every pitcher was taught to live down and away at the knees, outside corner. And hitters had a tough time with that because two things. You have to adjust the barrel, turn your barrel over without dropping your hands. And you had to wait for that pitch to get deep instead of reaching for it. And it was a hard pitch to hit. Hitters adjusted. They go, okay, pitcher's going to live there. We're going to learn how to hit that pitch. And so that thing that sort of changes. So I think that's, a big factor as well. But yeah, I think calling the high zone. And then the last thing I'll say is, and I think Ryan, you touched on it. There's no swing into contact. I mean, some of the hacks I see with 2 strikes, like 1-2, like
there's nothing. Like every ball is trying to go for the fence. Every single ball. Every ball.
I've never been a proponent to choking up, okay? Because you just changed. So when we talk about hitting, we talk about hand-eye coordination, which it's really not hand-eye. It's hand-eye plus 27 inches, or however far it is to that barrel. Like if you have a 33-inch bat, it's approximately 27 inches to the sweet spot. You're changing that relationship when you choke up, right? So I've never been a huge proponent of that. But it's the mindset. The mindset is like, okay, all right, I lost my opportunity to really drive a ball here. Now I have to hit defensively. I got to put it in play, make them make a play on me, right? Yep. And so you're just trying to find a barrel at that point, and that's gone away.
Yeah, and to that point, like when we look back at 1993, like we're talking about, guys were doing that more often than just putting a ball in play. When you put a ball in play, good things can happen, right? Right now, we said that the team batting average is 236. Back in 1993, it was 265.
Wow.
And don't forget the shift, right? No one was shifting in 93 either.
Right.
Also, I'm going to step in for our one-day guest, Dave Wozlak. I'm guaranteeing that if you talk to him about it, he's going to also tell you that's right. But middle relievers weren't throwing 98 back in the 90s.
I think it's all those factors too. Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
So you put all this together, and I think the numbers reflect what we're talking about, but not 6 no-hitters. Like that's. And so maybe is it just that those 3 teams really are not good?
They're not that good.
They're really just not good.
And actually, I can tell you that right now. So the teams that we're talking about, the Mariners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seattle Mariners. Whoop.
Will they get canceled? Like, is a Mariner somehow, like, is that racist? Or
I think Mariners are okay.
No, okay.
The
That's what I meant.
Mariners team batting average. Anybody want to venture a guess here?
212.
Lower.
Lower is correct.
Lower.
I'm gonna say
Wow.
198.
get out of
Come
town. I was gonna say
on, as a
198.
team?
Swear to God, I
As
was
a
gonna say-
team, they are batting 198. Now,
That's my hesitancy from being wrong too much. I didn't spit it out. I was gonna come
And
out
that's
with
half the games in a dome, right?
Yeah.
Because they're still got the roof, right? Safeco still closes, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Texas, the other team, one of the other two teams here. What's
Other
their
dome
team
team.
batting average?
209.
204.
They're actually spot on the nose in the league average at 236.
Really?
Okay.
All right. So they're not so bad.
And the last one, Cleveland. I mean, they're not good either. They're batting 213 as a team.
All right.
So
Who is hitting the best as a team? Give us so we have some
Houston,
sort of,
I think.
who do we think? What's the
The
what's the
Astros,
team?
Houston Astros.
Bill Houston?
The
It's
Houston
my guess.
Astros at 271, and our Boston Red Sox coming
Number
in
2.
second at 263. Now, Kev,
Oh.
what are your Yankees hitting?
My Yankees are probably hitting a buck.
11-5th.
Well, hold on. Can I take the bottom 4 hitters out at any time?
No,
Because then they're hitting about 330.
they're batting.
I would say the
220
Yankees are hitting about 220. Yeah,
227. A paltry 227.
I mean, there's 4 starters that are under 200. I mean,
So if you want to know what
Sanchez,
$75 gazillion dollars gets you, right? In payroll,
I'm sorry,
227
Mr.
average.
I'm sorry, Mr. Economics.
Yeah.
Can the American name 5 Red Sox right now? Also payroll over 200 million?
you don't have to name all of them. You just have to name as a team. They're the second best team in baseball.
Oh,
Mhm.
of course. Before Memorial Day. Let's do
And by the way,
Columbus
that's
Day,
to my point there, Mr. McGovern,
which
is
is
is that you have a bunch of big names on the Yankees and they're hitting 220 nothing, right? And the Red Sox are second in MLB.
Listen,
with- you can't name 5 Red Sox.
No argument here. No
Yeah.
argument here.
So would you rather? So the question comes: Are you content with having famous people or good people on your team?
Yeah, well, we'd like
You
to, but
hear how hard he dropped that
again,
Boston
again, of
Yeah.
course,
Caught you
again,
looking.
of course, we do have the Yankee, injury issue with the
Yeah.
we have currently right now 47 million dollars in 2 players out right now. One hurt his hand, and the other person. I mean, I watched Rougned Odor collide into a catcher, flamingo his knee like Napoleon McCallum, if you remember that injury from football. Let's throw that out there.
No,
And be
Napoleon
back in
Dynamite.
10 days. Be back in 10 days. Whereas Stanton, who has like 3 extra base hits that aren't home runs, DH is now out for we don't even know, for a quad strain.
He was
Quad
on
strain.
fire too. He was actually.
Yeah. No one was chasing him that I'm aware of. No one
Yeah.
tried to tackle him. No one didn't get his leg snapped in an MMA fight. Just went from dugout to home plate.
The thing that he's supposed
To
to be training
back.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we can. Question.
Now, before we jump on to the next topic, because Kev was talking about this in our pre-session meeting here. He wanted to know how many the ground into double play average.
Oh yes.
I don't know about the
Yankees are
average,
leading.
but
Yankees are leading the league in that.
the Yankees are leading at 46, but those Houston Astros who are right there with all offensive categories are also up here as well with 42. They're the next team.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Hey, interesting stuff. So who knows what we'll have for topic to do next week? Maybe we'll be talking about 8 no-hitters. So that's the trend, right?
Or the PGA Championship too. That's going on this weekend.
Probably more 8 no-hitters, but
Oh, okay.
in fact, we might
Golf.
just repeat as 6 no-hitters over the PGA
Just
talk.
over the golf.
All right. So, Kevin, we want to continue on our syllabus talk. And, so this is a topic for me, Kev, that, I could talk about all day. There's so much in my brain I'm trying to get out. And I don't want to, I love to give that information. And so it's hard, but we're going to try to corral it. The thing that I want to talk about, Kev, is, because you had asked me, like, what about, a more elite level player, high school player who's a college, eligible.
And there's a reason why I asked that. Well,
Right.
Gets it, but go ahead.
Okay.
Finish.
And so the way that we work now, typically We get players at 16, 15, 16 years old. Okay. But that's a rarity, right? That's the exception, not the norm. We start our kids younger and we develop them up through the ranks and they stay with us. 80+% of the roster will stay and they'll develop and they get good. And that's the thing that really blows my hair back, to be honest with you, because, and I've said it before, our younger teams aren't necessarily always good teams. Our marquee team now that I'd put up against anybody in the country and they would compete at 12 years old. We're I think a sub 500 team. At 13 they're maybe even 500 and in a lower division. And what we do is we'll take these kids. Let's say we get a 12U team. That we
so before you say that, 'cause I know we're gonna go. I'm gonna give you the alley-oop.
Yep.
5 slamma jamma dunk. Okay, we both have mentioned this in prior podcasts.
Yeah.
But usually when people are calling your facility, me, the same thing, they're always asking, who, did you train? Who did you train? What marquee person did you train? Blah, 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 blah. And I know you have a great answer for that, and I'll let you answer it because I've heard it before. And my answer is this. It's very easy to take Tiger Woods and increase his club head speed 2 miles an hour or whatever because he's Tiger Woods. I want a kid who could barely throw a baseball, who looks completely awkward, and get him to, being the last guy on the bench on his 12-year-old team and playing Division III college baseball, 8 years later. That's coaching. So I think you have the same when someone calls you and say, well, who, where did they play or who do they know? You've got a great answer, which let's say it again because it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's we used to get the question all the time. I wish I got people saying, "Hey, where are your players playing?" We never get that. We get, hey, can I get a lesson? Yes, I'll put you with this, so and so. Okay, where did that person play? Where did that instructor play? What's his playing background? And I always say I can give you his playing background, but if I'm being honest, you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking where his players and students are playing, because that's going to tell you what kind of instructor and coach.
Very good. Right? Best answer on the planet.
Yeah. So, and we mean that. Now, I can tell you this. We've never had a baseball player walk into our facility looking for training that was a complete player. Like everybody has pretty significant, I almost said severe, pretty significant flaws, especially in the swing and their baseball swing. And I will argue that is the hardest thing to do in all the sports to consistently be able to hit baseballs, barrel baseballs. I'm not even talking about hits versus outs. Just to consistently barrel baseballs is very hard to do. It's a moving ball. You got a round bat and a round ball, et cetera, right? So you're going to, the goal is, mechanical perfection. Does people achieve it? Yeah, sometimes they achieve it, but it's rare and it takes a long time, right? And so when we get kids that walk in our facility at let's say 12 years old, this is what I was beginning to say. If we get a 12-year-old team, we put that team together. They're not going to be very good. We're going to put them in a low division in the league that we participate in, the lowest division, and they're probably going to be 500 or below. The next year, no matter what their record prior, we're going to put them in the higher division as they age up. And
why do you do so in 1 year? So if you took all 12-year-olds.
Yep.
Low division is 12, 13. They're at a higher division. And why? Because they've had a year with you because you want to challenge them. Okay.
Yes. So both actually. Good point.
Okay.
So we constantly want to keep them challenged. We don't want them. It's trying to find the right formula. Like you don't want to have them get throttled. Like I'm not going to put them up to the highest division. Go, hey, you put you against the best competition possible. We don't want to do that. I just almost knocked something over. But at the same time, we don't want them just beating up on everyone else. You want them challenged. So to answer your question, yes. So now we have 2 seasons, right? So we have that first season where we train them. You're not going to get much out of that in season. You'll see some changes, but not a lot. That second year is when you start to see more of the development, but still they're not there yet, not close. So we'll go up.
Start just for when 12 new guys come in. You start when to train for. So if you're gonna for 2022, you're starting November 2021.
Correct. We'll have a fall season that will typically end in October. We have about 3 weeks off, and we begin the next off season in November. And so we go
Okay.
November through March. And at 13, we go 3 days a week. We have an hour strength training, hour skills training. I know you don't love the term strength training, but for lack of a better term, you know what I mean? So we have the 12s. They'll say they'll start in the lowest division. The next year, regardless of their record in the lowest division, they're going to go to the next division up, right? That mid-level division. And then the next year, again, despite, let's say they go 500, they're in the top division. And by the way, you'll see them get better. So they'll go below 500 in the low division. 500 or better in that mid-level division, and then above 500 in the high division. And that's and again, there's of course exceptions, right? But in the aggregate, that's what's going to happen. They're going to progressively get better and better. And so the question becomes, which is the topic this week, is all right, well, you got a group of kids that are 16 that have been together since they were 12. What are you working on with them?
What do you guys, what's the biggest? So you said the swing is probably lacking, right? Right, as far as the mechanics. So what's the biggest change that makes them produce the biggest result? Like what 2 or 3 things are you doing to those second or third year players that are with you to get them to be in the top division, winning games, producing well?
So this is where we go from macro mechanics to micro mechanics. Okay.
We're in economics again. All right.
Yeah.
Right. I got this. Okay.
So instead of macroeconomics, macro mechanics. And so look at you got a young kid, or any kid that comes in for the first time. We're always going to look at the beginning. And this is they start at the beginning of the curriculum. And the curriculum or the syllabus is that we look at posture, we look at foot placement, all that stuff. Is the knee inside the foot? Are they squatting properly? Can they depress their scaps, etc.? Those are sort of the macro that we see in the beginning. The micro is, okay, maybe his knee's staying inside his foot, but it's barely staying inside. Maybe we can get more out of his foot placement, right? By the way, I'm lagging. Can you hear me okay?
You got a little choppy there. You want to
hold on a second.
Reset.
Hold on.
And we'll have a filler. So Ryan, what do you see on your end while he's fixing that? Like something different than hitting, or like what do you, if someone is that 12, because we go to 12 to 13 to 14, for me, I see the biggest thing is now we could go from 5'2" to 5'9", or 6 feet, which brings in a whole other component of not just skills, but really just to move properly. And I'm sure you guys see that.
Yeah, they can go from looking pretty fluid and pretty smooth to looking like a baby giraffe on ice skates, like real quick, right? Like just looking very awkward, very, very gangly and clumsy. And it does happen, right? And it's at that point where they almost have to kind of relearn the mechanics. I mean, we might have a kid from when he's 10 up, and he might 10, 11, 12, he might have all those mechanics down. But then he hits that growth spurt and he has to figure out how to make his body, move and do the
same thing that he already knows, right? Literally the same skills that he knows is now completely different because we're looking at longer lever arms or whatever.
Yep.
Mike, exactly. Are you back on the internet there? What kind of internet they got in your town there? You have like problems there?
Yeah,
What's up? There we go.
Well,
now he's back.
I don't
know.
Am I back?
We hear you better. Yeah, you're definitely back. Good. For sure. So you're still handsome looking on the screen, but I don't know about the sound. Yeah, it's debatable. It's true. Yeah, it's true.
So we're just going to trudge on, okay? Because we are getting our internet upgraded here at my house, which is I do my podcast from. And they were supposed to come out and fix it, but they gave us a date after today, which I had a feeling it was going to be an issue. But anyway, I just checked my internet speed. The download's good. Upload's a little bit slow. So, and there we go.
Your sound is coming good. We can still hear you.
Okay. All right. That's
all right. So Mike, so what is your, you come in, they're getting the basics of movement, which is phenomenal. So now they're 12, they're 13. Now we've hit 14U, 15U. And now these guys look from a physical standpoint dramatically different than they look when they were 12 or 13. What are you seeing there that's the big flaw or issue that you're seeing?
It's taking those mechanics that they've learned and adjusting them to their new body. The kids that grow, it's hard to, you see it all the time, I'm sure. that they don't know what to like. They knew how to move at 12 years old when they were little. Now they just grew a foot and a half, and they're like, whoa, everything's longer, right? I mean, things become harder to control. So that's part of it. But really, what we start to do at 14 generally is like that's when we typically have had a kid a couple years. This is the third year of development. So that's like the real big year where we get a lot of really positive results. And if the kids are already sort of where they need to be, the next step, and so I would really call it 15U, is when we start to do everything more explosive and more consistent, right? And so your knee is always going to be on the inside part of your back foot. You're never going to go off the arch side of your foot. Your hips are always going to be back. Your knees are never going to bend forward. Your hands are always going to be up and back when your front heel strikes. All of those things. That's what we're looking for, real micromechanical stuff. So maybe some kids here, and it's on that border, right? And now if I get a 12-year-old starting his swing here, I'm happy as a clam. In fact, if I get a 12U just turning his hips first before anything else, I'm happy as a clam, right? So, but at that 15, they should have that down. Now it's like making sure that front elbow is not popping up a little bit, because now you get this much bat lag that you don't want. We got to tighten that up. Right. Whereas 12, it could be this much bat lag. So it's like everything we're still doing, but it's we start taking closer attention to that goal for perfection, whether we can achieve it or not.
Now, let me ask you this follow-up question. With all of the technology that certainly wasn't around when you and I were we hate to sound old, but we are. Yeah. So you've got Rapsodo. You've got one of these, for those who don't know, this kind of machine that really measures all of these numbers, that like crazy numbers. Does this type of machine have markers for what you're talking about? So besides looking, or like, how would you know that the foot, like, is it giving markers, or can you, Ryan swings here at this, and then, okay, Ryan, you didn't do this, and then now over here we're going to do another one, and here's the measure of the improvement.
You're talking about like the Rapsodo, right?
Yeah, or like, what are you using to, besides, your eye is great. Besides that, what are you using to show? Because I mean, everyone now is, we're here. We are where it's visual. So how are you showing? How are you showing tangible, the player the result? Yeah, absolutely.
Tangible results. So that's a great question. So the Rapsodo does do that exactly, and devices like that, TrackMan and HitTrax, etc.
Sure.
And that's another good thing. That's when we'll start using that stuff with the older kids. We're not going to use it with a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, other than like once a year to like let them have fun, right? But to answer your question, yes. So number one, you should see a continual increase. Basic thing is exit velocity, right? Okay. As their swing
so
gets
that's better. The basic swing. That's the gold measure of how well we're hitting is exit velocity.
Right. Are you using your legs or not? Like if a kid's using his arms and his shoulders, let's say he's at 55 miles an hour with his exit velo. He uses his legs, he'll be at 75 miles an hour. I mean, it's that big a difference, right? So the other thing that it's really like now, once you learn how to read things like Rapsodo, you can see just by the type of spin on the ball. Right. If I see sort of like an east to west spin, okay, and maybe it's going from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, right, on a right-handed batter, I know that batter's coming around the ball and they're rolling the wrists. So that's the only way that spin's going to come off that way. If you get a west to east, right, a 9 to 3 o'clock, really lagging the barrel, right? Here's the ball and the barrel placing it this way, so it spins. We want 6 to 12 backspin. And that's when you're staying through a ball. Now I know, okay, number one, they're keeping their front side closed. They're not opening up.
Yes, this is my question. Are there corrective measures when you see? So you see this. What do we do? What do we do?
So if I know that, like I said, if I saw like a 3 to 9 east to west spin, and they're coming around the ball, that means they're opening up and they're rolling their hands way too early. So they're either extending early or they're just rolling early. Their top hand isn't a problem, or their front elbow is too high. If we get the opposite spin, but again, same, more west to east versus south north, then I know that he or she's probably pulling their front shoulder off the ball. And again, front elbow lift causes the bat to drag and just skim the inside part of the ball and create that side spin. Versus when I see good 6 to 12 south to north spin and I have a good exit velocity, I know that person, that hitter, he or she is keeping the front side closed really well. They're rotating really well. The exit velocity will tell me that. And then in terms of the spin, I know that they're maybe keeping their top hand through contact properly if I get good 6 to 12 south to north spin. So that helps tremendously having that technology. Because that's micro stuff. You might not be able to see that I'm giving gross examples, but again, what if we have the person, Kevin, that has almost the 6 to 12, but it's a little bit this way. So now it's a micro thing. It's like, okay, you're not pulling off, you're not flying open, but it looks like you're leaking something on the front side. Maybe it's the front elbows coming up a little bit, maybe the front hips leaking a little bit, and so you're getting too far inside. Hands are too far ahead of the barrel. Are you reading a novel over there?
I have notes. I've got notes here. So my next question. So now let's take the 14U and the 17U player. Same issue.
Yep.
So same, pick one, pick east of whatever. Same.
Sure.
Getting around the ball. All right. Is there a difference in how you correct it, and as far as what you're telling them, and is there a difference in the amount of time it takes to correct? I mean, someone just out of growth spurt, right, and someone ready, it was pretty much maybe done growing with all intents and purposes.
Well, they're the same mechanical flaw, so how I correct it will be the same, but in terms of how long it will take to correct, that's going to depend. There's some variables. Let's just say that if they're both brand new to me, right, the 14-year player is going to get it a lot faster. It's basically just a math. It's a math thing, because before I meet any kid, they've taken thousands and thousands and thousands of swings before I ever met them, right? Sure. 17's taken even that much more.
Thousands plus. Yep.
Right? And so we always say every swing is a swing towards that muscle memory. They've built in a pretty good muscle memory. And again, we're talking, for people listening, the question that Kevin's asking is that this is a consistent thing, not one swing, obviously, right? If he's
consistent flaw.
Consistent flaw. So the 14-year-old player will probably get that down. If that's the one thing I have to work on with he or her, they'll get that down inside of a year. The 17-year-old player may not ever get it. So depending on that work ethic, depending on how many times they're willing to come see me to work on it, and what they're doing when they're not with me. If they're going to hit, like, in other words, if they work with me and this kid has a good work ethic, and I say this all the time and it stinks, but it's tough. A great work ethic with hitting can sometimes bite you in the backside, because if that kid's going home and saying, all right, I'm going to take another 200 swings off the tee, but they're not focused on what we were working on.
So here's my next question.
Just undid what we did.
Yeah. How many times do you find that as the kid gets older, for whatever influence, parental, other coach working on his movement, changes or reverses what you have done? How often do you find that? And then how long does it then take to fix that after they've done it well, they've gone somewhere else or wherever they've come back, and all of a sudden their stats are worse?
All right. That's a great question. So,
and that happens.
Yep.
It really happens to me.
The first answer is that doesn't happen too often to us. We don't usually, we're all going to trump whoever else is teaching them stuff. And they ask us, what should we say? And I say, look, be polite. Don't be rude, be nice. The coach is trying to help you. Just kindly say, yes, thank you, I'll work on that. And then, just continue to work on what we've been working on. That's the best thing to do. And again, sometimes it could be that they're teaching the same thing, but the language is different. The lingo is different. And so they can get confused. So I always have them focus on what we're doing. For the most part, over the years, knock on wood, that's increased. So we don't deal with that all that much. But if we have had somebody that, maybe wants to go find greener grass because their playing time is not what they want it to be, and they're not playing
for whatever reason,
we've had that. And one player I have in mind, I won't say his name. It was a boy, left at the wrong time. It was 13 to 14, and he was just on the cusp of getting his swing down. It was right there. One more off season would have done wonders. He actually left to another program that does not develop, did not train him. He came back, and it was like we were starting from scratch. So it wasn't like we started even when he left. It's not like we just missed a year. It set him back probably 2-3 years. That particular player never ended up going on to play in school when he was a surefire.
You couldn't even.
So it can hurt you.
You couldn't correct in time. Wow.
Did well, and I take that back. He could have played at like a D3, but he was, he had a higher trajectory when he was younger, and I think wanted that and kind of felt that's where he was. But again, that's it. Those are exceptions to the rule. The vast majority, it's they come in, they stay with us, they progress.
Well,
Not only do they, and by the way, it gets more fun along the way because not only are they like, recruitable in terms of colleges, but their team that used to maybe get beaten up at 12 years old by,
sure.
not great teams are now crushing everybody, so it's, they see the success. You see it in a lot of ways. You see in the success of the team, right? So a collection of kids developmentally getting better, all together become a better team. So they start winning more. You see it on technology and things that measure metrics, right? You see it in performance in terms of 4-for-4 days and home runs,
Sure.
etc. So that's when it becomes really fun, when you start seeing the stuff, all the work that the kids put in, and you see them start to really experience that in the games. That's what it's all about. It's fun.
All right. So let me ask you this. Now you are the greener pasture.
Yep.
For whatever reason. I know I'm sending over 2 kids that I work with to you because you're the not only greener pasture, but can't believe I have to say this, better pasture for them. So now you've got kids, and let's just say for all intents and purposes, these kids are 15, 16.
Yep.
And they're good, but
Mhm.
they're not getting what they need.
Yep.
How do we get that? What do you do to get that kid into Bentley, into Southern Maine, somewhere even as local or University of Florida? How do you get that kid who's got the skills but has had some very bad habits due to poor
Yep.
coaching? How do you get that kid to college?
So that's a great question. So that's what we want. When we do get a 15, 16-year-old, that's what we need. We need somebody who's already a pretty decent baseball player. They have a lot of the mechanical stuff down. And again, we come back to now it's micro mechanics. A lot of times you get a kid like that, Kevin, and it's as simple as he doesn't get his heel down, right? So he lands his foot, but you look closer, you watch video, and his heel's that far off the ground. So he's never really getting down. He's not in an athletic position. And that one little change, boom, all of a sudden his exit velo jumps. The ball starts flying off. It's a different sound off his bat because, hitting with a closed front side like that is huge, right?
Huge.
I don't mean
Yep.
close in terms of where your foot goes, foot heel down versus not, right? Sometimes it's like their hands are a little bit ahead of their shoulders and they're actually rotating, but they're pushing their hands rather than pulling. So things like that. It's the micro mechanics of those kids, and they have to make a commitment. We're going to evaluate that kid and we're going to say, hey, look, these are the 3-4 things that you need to really work on. If you get them down, you're going to be golden, right? But you have to make a commitment. This is what it's going to take. It's going to take 3 days a week, right? And sometimes it's a postural thing, or it's a thing where maybe, Kevin, they need to go to you and learn how to squat properly. Maybe it's that, right? Whatever it is, they have to make a full commitment to it.
Sure.
And if they do, we can with a kid that's already pretty good, not completely raw, already a high school level player. He's pretty good. Absolutely, we can get that person over. We did it a few years ago with an entire team that came over. Another story for another day, but we did it.
With that, let's say he comes to you and turns 16 and comes to you at 15. How long does it take for someone who's like, what would you say your average?
So that's the thing. So we have to
your average tune-up.
Ideally, it's going to take 2-3 to really get it down to where we want. It's going to take probably two years, maybe. But we have to gauge how much time do we have. Is this kid a sophomore and we only have like a season and a half, like an off season and a half or 2 off seasons? We got to really get after it. And then I'll relay that to the kid and like, hey, look, I know your teammates are coming in here 3 days a week. You need to be in here 4 in order to make up for that lost time, right? But if he's a freshman or she's a freshman, then we're okay. We got really 3 off seasons to fix that. And in 3 years with anything, we can do it. We can break any old habit. Right. And again, just to reiterate, this is not like it takes 3 years to perform a movement. No. It takes 3 years to make that movement completely and entirely muscle memory and instinctive. Okay. Where they don't even know what they're doing. They're just moving and they're moving that proper way.
Love it. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks. All right. What do we got next, Mr. Producer?
Well, next we have our news segments. We have our movement of the week and our tip of the week.
Ooh.
All right. So let me share my screen here because I think I'm up for movement of the week. Let's see here. Can we see let's see here. So, going on the macro versus micro, I figured I would pick a very basic movement. All right. And that is a squat. As we all know, the most important athletic movement on the planet and the most butchered athletic movement on the planet. Okay. So running this, just kind of quickly. So this is, an aerobics instructor who's, doing kind of athletic movements the entire time. And, I'd give this some quick eye looking, maybe, from this far away, maybe B plus until we look right there. Okay. So we talk about micro versus micro or macro. So I can't even talk, Mike. You're talking way above my pay grade here. So if we rewind this movement here, the most important part of a building, of our nice spacious deck, is essentially where we plant, where our feet make contact with the ground. And when we're doing any sort of squat movement, that contact with the ground should not waver. So although macro she looks good, there's our little micro. Okay, that flip of the foot, which I've seen not only people doing it without weight but with weight. This takes this squat and makes it from a macro B to a micro F minus. That's how bad this is. There's a lot, believe it or not, the foot coming up. There's a lot having to do, a lot of reasons for that. Real quick, as I back this up, some of that is we're not getting our torso far enough over our knees. We're not moving our butt back as far as it could be, and that toe flips up, as you can even clue in that now. You can see it flip up there for balance because the body thinks it's falling back. You guys have all seen me do, squat tests where, someone's come into my, how much do you squat? I squat 5,000 pounds, or I squat, whatever. And I have them do a squat with nothing and then push them over with one finger because of that exact thing. They're not moving their butt back and torso like a seesaw, like one going forward, one going back, and keep centered over their feet. The toes pop up. You guys will see it on your end with the foot heading out to the pinky toe. When they go to load, the foot kind of wobbles, their weight gets over their pinky toe, and from there, nothing good can happen until that movement is corrected. So that is my movement of the day, the squat. And Mike, I think you're up now, buddy.
Movement of the week, Kevin.
Movement of the week. The week.
This isn't a daily podcast.
Yeah, well, I have some more stuff to announce at the end about that, but moving on. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah,
today is a day. It ends in Y.
So today we have a very special tip of the week for you, because I am going to be changing from just this talking head here. And I'm going to give you a bit of a full shot right now.
Oh, he's getting choppy. He's getting choppy. He's standing up. He's choppy. What's happening? He's now frozen. Now we've got to fill time. This is like
how long
can you hear
until
me?
We hear an inadvertent 4-letter word? I hear you now, Mike.
Now we can hear you. Absolutely. Well, we can't see
maybe
you.
It's this. I don't know.
We can just hear you.
And
you're
this
frozen.
is the one where
and
I
not
have to,
in the most. I can tell you right now, you're frozen.
Oh, I can see it.
Not in the most flattering.
It could be
worse.
Yeah.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. Yes.
So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try something here.
He's moving again. No, he's still frozen. See, this is
Hold
what
on a
happened
second.
on live podcast. This is what happened.
This is live podcast stuff.
So Ryan, do you want to maybe?
So I think.
Oh, he's going. He's back. He's still at it. What's he doing?
No, I have a feeling that. So I'm going to go to my. All right, start video. Okay, here we go. Watch. I think it could be
the camera.
My webcam there.
Oh, look at that. Another angle. Okay,
so it's
looking good.
It's a little more dim.
Yeah, a little dimmy.
I'm still going to do this. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Now the tip of the week, first of all, is this is a drill that I've seen done a gazillion times. Okay, and when I show it to you, you probably have seen it too. And this is something that's supposed to help teach a kid how to rotate their lower half, rotate their hips. Okay. But I'm going to show you why it's not the ideal way to do it. And then I'm going to show you the way that you should do it instead as an alternative. And so here we go. Let me back up, get my chair out of the way, got my fungo. All right. And so people who are just listening, what I'm doing is I'm taking the bat, and you'll see that a lot of coaches will have them put the bat behind their back.
No, Mike,
kind
don't
of
hurt
arms
yourself.
folded around it here, right?
Go
and
easy.
Then they're going to turn, right? Turn their hips. Now, if you can see me doing this, okay, you can see that my shoulders are completely square. My left shoulder, my front shoulder, I'm a right-handed hitter, is going to just go flying towards third base. No bueno. That's not, we don't want to look like this when we're hitting. Okay. We want to look like this with our hips are turned all the way. Our upper body's coming behind, so it's not quite turned all the way. You'll also see an angle from my front shoulder to my back shoulder dropping down. Okay. So the better way to do this is this way. So if I had in fact, if you have a PVC pipe, is another great thing, a little bit longer, you can actually have a target that you would try to hit with the barrel as you rotate. So, and here instead, when I rotate my hips, my barrel's coming here. Now you can see the difference in my shoulders. My left shoulder isn't flat and over to third base. Okay. It's only up because when I rotate, my back leg is going to bend, which makes my backside drop a little bit. And I'm rotating the barrel down towards the contact area. So if I had a T, if I could use my mic in the video, right? And for just the listeners, I now have the bat in front of me. I'm cradling it, my arms right on my chest. And now I'm rotating, and everything comes in the perfect sequence. So that's my tip of the week. Do not do this one. Not good for you. Not good for you to hit. It's going to create bad habits with your shoulders. This is going to help create your good sequence and teach you to turn your hips. Kevin, questions?
Yeah. So no, I've seen that, and obviously this HLP hitting, I've seen the exact same drill, except they're literally coming
Like
through
this.
with bat almost perpendicular to the ground, like they're hitting croquet or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
So that's a big one. And by the way, here's the culprit right here. See?
Oh,
Because
yeah, I
they
had
don't
that.
make the things with the
Yep.
new USB.
Yep.
So I have
And
to
you gotta
connect
get
it.
the thing.
I bet you that's it. And now someone's gonna they're gonna get a piece of my mind.
Look at this.
I can't
Look
put it
at
back
this.
together.
Dude, you're getting hate mail from listeners.
Uh-oh.
Mike had duck face going on.
I saw it.
Yeah. Well,
It's a handsome duck face, if I don't say so myself.
handsome duck face.
Yep.
Hey, is it time now for
It's time for why would you do
Would you do that?
All right, what do we got?
So
Here we go. Oh,
this
what we
is
got
actually there's actually multiple drills in here. Some good, some bad.
now just so we know, part of this, premise of
Don't go
the
so far as to
show.
say good, but
Yeah, where this is found on social media, right? You just pick this up from the search of YouTube or wherever,
On
right?
Instagram. You can
This
go
is
to
on
Instagram and search baseball drills, and this is like
coming up. Okay.
10 videos down.
Okay.
All right.
So what do we got?
We have a high step, stepping over a little hurdle, right? Using the PVC pipe that Mike had actually alluded to a few minutes ago in his demonstration. So I think this is one of the ways that you can use a PVC pipe, right? But I'll let Mike talk about the good, the bad, the ugly here.
All right. So a couple things. So the purpose of this drill, I have no problem with. I kind of like it. And for now, what the PVC is doing here, especially for a younger kid, oftentimes when a player steps, a young player, boy or girl, their hands come with them. So when they step forward, their hands kind of drift forward too. And you don't want that. You want the hands to stay back. You want your body to sort of walk away from your hands so that your hands are outside your shoulder, because outside your shoulder is outside your hip. And that means your hips will pull your hands rather than push. So that's good. What's not good, okay? And by the way, and so before I get into what's not good, the hurdle is to get this player, I think, either one, to get up with his foot to load properly, which he's really not, but whatever. But also to get a bigger stride. And my guess is that this particular player was not striding. He's probably too narrow, right? And they're trying to get him a little bit wider. The issues with it, though, real quickly, is you see as soon as he lifts his front leg up, his back knee buckles right there. Buckles. It goes over the center of his foot and it buckles. The second right there is a really good shot. The second one is when he lands. If you can pause it when he lands, Ryan, see if you can do it. I know it's not easy, but Okay, perfect. So
Oh,
now
look
in
at
this
those front foot.
position, perfect pause. The front shoulder is higher than the back shoulder. We don't want that. You want that reverse. Front shoulder should be down, back shoulder should be up. And then the back elbow, which is almost straight up and down, perpendicular to the ground. And we want that to be a little bit more parallel to the ground. And the reason is the next video, you'll see why. Now, for what this particular coach is teaching, he may like that. He may want that. And I think they probably do when we get to the next video. But remember, everybody, we want the elbow to be behind the fist. Once we rotate to contact, the elbow should be behind the fist. And again, this is basic geometry. We want the barrel to stay in the same path of the baseball. Baseball is going this way. We want our bat to go that way, right? We don't want it going this way or this way, even worse, right? We want to stay on path. So in order for the top hand to extend, the elbow needs to be behind the fist. Real simple. So those are the not so good. You can also see his front foot. See how he's overstriding now. So his front foot, he's way on his pinky toe side. Not good. All right. Next video. Okay. Now this is where you'll see, I think, why that front shoulder up, he did not now, although he's pretty level now. This movement. This is where we get into the why would you do that? I don't understand what this is for unless he's practicing a tennis return. Okay. And by the way, anyone who knows tennis, don't get mad at me. I don't know that that's the way you would actually do a tennis return. But it's certainly not the way you would want to swing a bat. You can see just by slotting, putting his elbow there, that he's going to be coming around the ball. He's going to create a very circular swing. And although you want your body to move in a street circle, complete rotation, stationary axis, right? Head still, you do not want your bat path to make that same path. Right. So, and you can see what else, Kevin, you see, it looks like he's maybe popping.
Yeah. So Ryan, if you can rewind to it, I'll just go over real quick what Mike started with and just add to what his analysis was there. If you go all the way back to the first video, it'd be great.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so first video here, obviously, if you stop it, if we stop him right there when his left foot hits the ground, he is way too overstrided. There's no way if he moves from his belly button where the movement should start that he's going to generate any kind of force at all because his feet are way outside of his body. The other thing too, as far as I know, we need hand-eye coordination to hit or do anything. So if we rewind him, and back and forth a couple times, you can see in this video, his head is moving up, down, all over the place, which is going to make there it goes up, then forward, then back down. It's going to make his ability to pick up the ball, I'm assuming, greatly or that much harder. All right.
Yeah, he follows the trajectory of his back knee. He goes back over that foot here, as you can see.
So then we get to, here, I mean, that back knee is in a horrible position where injury could occur if, like, for instance, if he strides there and just say, if he's got to get out of the way of a pitch, I mean, his knee is ready to cave in immediately. So then going to the last video, what Mike talked about of the elbow, the elbow coming into the body and then swinging, that violates kinesiology, meaning we have to move proximal to distal, meaning from our core out. Okay, that elbow would come naturally into the body. If we started the rotation first, it would naturally just drop in. Forcing it in there is opposite of how the body would move, and you're going to get not the best results by moving opposite of how the body's intended to do. So there's my 2 cents.
Good stuff.
All right.
Did you have one more on this, Ryan, or no?
Yeah, there's a couple more that
next one.
Here.
That one's basic. This one, yeah, the rocking. Yeah, I think we covered the ones that matter. This is not how how we would recommend.
I mean, I think the guys, and here's again, this is we go back to social media. I'm sure this coach is the greatest of intentions.
Yeah,
and I think that he knows what has to happen, but he's doing it in a way that's not producing safely, kinesiologically correct, baseball correct. Doing it. Now it's on social media. It's under coaching instruction, and it probably has 1,000 likes.
So this is
the issue,
and this is a good example too, Kevin. What we were talking about earlier, like if I get this kid when his swing's not far off, he doesn't have a bad swing, right? So we get him and we go, and so there's the step back drill, right? So I would use a ramp for this, but again, we're trying to keep the knee inside the foot,
and you'll see his back foot wobble.
then the knee gets well. So a lot of
Yeah.
people see the drills and they know to do the drill, but they might not know exactly what the goal of that drill is for and what it can accomplish. And you want to know that, of course, because that drill is not a bad drill for learning to stay on the inside part of your foot, keeping your knee inside your foot, so
Sure.
you're kinesiologically aligned, your posterior chain is connected. But again, I would use a ramp instead. But my point is, we get a kid that's similar to this. His swing's not bad. We would just teach him, hey, look, we got to keep you on the inside part of your feet. We got to keep your knee from buckling. The kid's world's going to change. He's going to start hitting the ball a lot harder. So not bad stuff.
Good.
Okay. One thing we should say before we wrap up, Kevin, I know you're, you had a question from one of our listeners.
Oh, yes. Do you have a picture of that?
The axe bat?
I can put one up.
So I got a question from one of our listeners in California who asked about handles at the end, because it came on the back of me commenting that Aaron Hicks is out from hurting his wrist swinging, mostly because he swings and doesn't make contact, but whatever. So there's different handles, right? The axe handle, and then there's explain the handles, and then do we have a picture of them, and what's better, what's not?
I can tell you this. Ryan's probably looking for it, but it has the handle is just like it would be on an axe.
Oh, that okay,
right?
Okay, yep.
There you go. Right. So it looks like now it is an axe handle, and that is how a handle would look like an axe, but you don't want to swing an axe and a baseball bat the same way. So can you swing that bat like an axe because of that handle? Yes, you can. Do you want to? I would say no. Now, there are some hitters that like this bat. Mookie Betts is one who's a phenomenal hitter, right? I think one of the questions was, does it protect the hamate bone? And it does. Yep. So
golfers, just so this kind of ulnar deviation. So just so people know, your radius, that's always on the thumb side. That's the bone that rolls over. Ulnar on the pinky side. There's a piece of cartilage here that, believe it or not, they've changed the name of it within the last 10 years. But that kind of ulnar deviation, this move where your wrist is turning to your pinky side and jamming that in, hurts that area, and that has that's a kind of a surgery, and it's not fun. A lot of golfers have it, and it's could be career ending for some people because of that.
Well, I know the surgery these days, at least for baseball players, they just take it out. They just remove it. Okay. And so because of the design of the knob, there is probably less of this. In fact, there's no lip on the outside portion of it as we're looking at the top side knob, and that's what's going to protect that bone. However, there's other ways to accomplish that. One of them is there are bats made, and back in the day I used to design bats with just no lip on it, and that was designed to protect the hamate bone as well. So there are other ways. Why I'm not a huge fan of the axe bat is this: if I'm swinging an axe, okay, and I'll perform this, my top hand, okay, I'm going to start to swing, and I'm going to snap the head of the axe, or the bat in this case, and it's going to get way ahead of my hands. A tree is a stationary object. You wouldn't, if it were a moving tree, you'd probably take a different approach. I would recommend, right? So what we want to do is, once the hand gets here, right? Once your top hand gets your barrel like almost even with your hands, we want to extend. We don't want to snap. We want to get here, okay? And so it's harder to do that with the axe bat. The axe bat's designed to sort of make you get like this and have the barrel snap ahead of your hands. Okay. And
now,
so
Mike, in that case that you just talked about, it seems like, just if we're talking about Aaron Hicks in general, it seems like he missed the pitch or swung wildly at a pitch that was way outside, that he did at the end have to, that quick ulnar deviation or flick at it. How do we?
Well, when you hit, you have to do that. I mean,
yeah.
I'm going to try to stand up again just to make this easier so I can get in frame, right? So when if we're hitting, we're going to rotate, right? So this is, if you can see, my arms are only coming along for the ride. And once I'm here, now I'm going to extend my top hand, and I'm going to pull my bottom hand, but my wrist should be pretty locked, right? If my wrist isn't locked, the barrel's going to snap ahead. Now, if you can see this, how long I'm staying in the zone this way by extending my hand, boom, pulling from the bottom, right, from the elbow. This we don't want, but when we get to here, it's gonna snap and turn over at this point, right? So no matter what you're gonna do it, it's just, do you do it pre-contact and post-contact? And of course, you want to do it post-contact.
Okay. Great answer. This is new. These handles are different, new to me. The injury certainly isn't new. It's, it is an issue. So I'm going to investigate this more and see if we can come up with something to hopefully prevent that.
No, not bad. I know. I'll bring one for next
not bad.
podcast. So you can show it. I'll show it to you.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So
right.
one last thing before we go. Next week is our 25th episode of season 2, and we are starting to, believe it or not, we're going to branch off and do. I think we've agreed. Prove it life success, where we're going to actually speak to some of the people. Speak with people who are doing it right. Number one, and interview them both on the coach side and the client side for our clients, people we've coached, and then other people doing it around the country as well. So that's coming soon. That won't be live, but that'll be something we'll be adding on to the show.
The platform. That's right.
Yeah, the platform.
Excited.
All right. Awesome, guys.
Had
Thank
fun with
you,
today's
everybody,
show.
for listening. That was
fun
good.
show.
Very good.
That was a fun show.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Bring in my fungo again next week. So there's a shout out to Louis Ledoux and Axis Bats. He makes a great bat, by the way.